If you're seeing this, something is already shifting. Notice that sentence as if it arrived to you on purpose. Sit with it for a breath. Something inside you, a feeling, a question, a quiet tug at the edge of your attention, has begun to turn. It is small. It is true. It is enough to start the world rearranging itself around it. The core idea here is simple and practical. Your inner state shapes the field you move through. Not as a magic law that guarantees outcomes, but as a living practice that changes how you show up, what you notice, and which opportunities gravitate toward you. Think of your inner state like the temperature of an oven. When the oven warms, flavors bloom, dough rises. Things that were dense become light. When your inner world shifts even a little, from tightness to curiosity, from exhaustion to soft attention, the people, choices, and moments you can see and receive begin to taste different. This is not suggestion that you manufacture outcomes by force. It's the invitation to tune the instrument you carry so that life answers in kind. Before you go on, try one small thing. Name out loud or in your head one tiny thing you're grateful for right now. The warmth of the light on your skin, a coffee cup, a memory of a laugh. Say it once. Notice the slight loosen in your chest. Keep that breath with you as we move forward. When we say inner state, we mean a combination of attention, feeling, and language. The quiet sentence you keep repeating inside your head. That sentence becomes the field you move through. Intention plants seeds, but feeling is the soil. Expectation is the gardener. Words are small flags that direct energy in practical ways. Telling yourself, "I can handle this," is less a pep talk and more a realignment of focus that changes your decisions in tiny, accumulative ways. Emotions are not final verdicts. They are signals about where you are on the ladder of feeling. You don't need to leap to ecstatic joy to change things. You only need to step up one rung. From tired to interested, from worried to curious, from numb to slightly hopeful. That one-step shift is often enough to open the next action you can take. This is where allowance comes in. Allowance is the opposite of grind. It's the practice of moving through life by clearing space rather than pushing harder. When you allow, you breathe into the friction instead of trying to bulldoze it. Allowing doesn't mean passive resignation. It means creating an inner climate where your next right move can arise. When you are softer, your choices are clearer. When you are less frantic, other people respond differently to you. Many people who practice allowance notice small, real changes. A call that arrives when they truly needed it. A coincidence that is oddly timed. A person who appears with the exact skill the project needed. These are not guarantees, only invitations and confirmations that your inner weather is affecting the outer day. Here are a few ways this lives in the ordinary world. Millie keeps a bakery on a narrow street where the ovens hum at dawn. For years she worked back-to-back shifts, measuring success in the small green numbers of her ledger and in the speed with which customers left. She carried a constant worry that the next week would be thinner than the last. One chilly morning she started a tiny practice. Before opening, she named 5 small graces aloud: the way dough smelled when it first warmed, the chipped bowl that fit her hand like a story, the single bluebird she saw on the power line. She did this for a week, even on days when the line was short. What shifted was not an overnight flood of customers. What changed was the way she priced her work, the tone in her voice, and the generosity of the samples she offered. When she tossed an extra pastry to a hesitating stranger, that stranger began telling the neighbor about the bakery. The neighbor brought a group. 2 months later, a pop-up was planned by word of mouth. The practical lesson is small. Gratitude is a tuning practice that refines how you act. Those refined actions ripple outward. Emmett, a mail carrier who prefers the nickname M, has a route full of ordinary faces. He used to rush his rounds and count time as if it were a scarce resource to hoard. One afternoon, a child drew him a picture and taped it to his mailbox. He pulled over, looked, and said aloud, "I like this." The moment of noticing softened something in him, and he began intentionally offering a quick greeting to 3 people each morning. His steps lightened. Neighbors started waving earlier, asking for a moment to chat. The small change in how he felt toward his work made his day feel larger. He didn't make more money. He made more connection. That became visible in the kindness he received back, and the root felt like belonging rather than merely obligation. Clara runs a little flower stall under a canopy of painted tin. She was stuck on the idea that success must look like expansion, more inventory, bigger rent, more followers. Instead, she let herself rediscover why she loved arranging blooms. The smell, the way light cut through petals, the hush of early customers. She began to choose one bouquet each morning that she made for no one, simply for the pleasure of it. She lingered with color combinations, whispering to herself, "This is for the delight." People noticed. A woman buying a small arrangement for a bedside table asked Clara to design a weekly bouquet for her office. It started as curiosity and became a steady line of clients who wanted that particular kind of small, thoughtful beauty. Clara's inner shift, from performance to delight, changed the shape of her opportunities. Floyd is a gardener who tended other people's yards while his own remained wild. He used to curse brambles and see weeds as enemies. One season he began to treat weeds as teachers, asking, "What is this trying to tell me?" He learned patience, noticing soil patterns and root systems he had ignored. His hands became less clenched, his work more precise. A neighbor who admired his careful edges asked him to help redesign a neglected pocket garden. That small job turned into a weekly care contract. Floyd's change in perception, from resistance to curiosity, rewired the kind of work he attracted. These stories are not parables of overnight success. They are examples of small, consistent interior shifts, changes of language, attention, and feeling, that produce different outward choices which then led to new possibilities. You may read them and think, "That's sweet, but will it work for me?" That's the right question. The practice is not guaranteed, but it is reliable in the sense that attention compounded over days changes how you notice and how you respond. If you want to practice this yourself, here are simple, precise tools you can use today. The nightly 5 small graces ritual is a practical gratitude practice that takes less than 3 minutes. Each night before you go to bed, speak out loud, or write in a notepad, 5 tiny things that were good during your day. Be specific. Not gratitude for family, but the steam on my window this morning, the barista who remembered my name, the way I said no and felt okay. Say them slowly, pause, and feel each one in your chest for a breath. If you're tired or grieving, name small survivals. I made it through today. I called a friend. I drank water. Do this for 7 nights. Many notice a subtle brightening in their attention. Their endings of day become more restful, and the small moments begin to accumulate into a quieter confidence. The emotional ladder is a navigational tool for climbing out of heavy feelings without denying them. Start by naming the current feeling without judgment. I am anxious. I am lonely. I am exhausted. Then choose the next rung up, just one step towards something slightly better that feels plausible. From anxious to curious, from lonely to open, from exhausted to rested. The movement is not to force joy, but to find an adjacent feeling you can inhabit for a moment. After choosing that rung, take a small action that matches it. If you move from anxious to curious, read a single paragraph about a project you care about. If you move from lonely to open, send a short message that says, "Thinking of you? You up for a quick call?" Say aloud a microscript. I notice anxiety. I invite curiosity. I will take one small step. Over time, practicing this ladder rewires how you approach problems. Choices become directed by slight upward shifts, rather than by overwhelm. Morning harmonization is a short stillness practice that helps you begin the day as a tuning exercise. Before you check your phone, sit for 2 minutes. Breathe slowly. Name 3 words you want to carry through the day. For example, clear, kind, steady. Imagine those words as warm light settling in your chest. Then pick one tiny action you will take that aligns with them. A phone call, a deliberate walk, making a nourishing breakfast. Speak your chosen microscript. Today, I carry clear, kind, steady. I will do one small thing from this tone. You don't need an hour of meditation. You need presence enough to choose the climate you want to inhabit. Affirmations that work are believable. The brain rejects phrases that feel false. Choose statements that feel slightly true and repeat them in a calm tone. Examples: I am open to receiving help. My work matters in small, steady ways. I am learning how to ask. Say these aloud in the mirror for 30 seconds or write them in the margins of your planner. Pair them with a micro-action. After, I am open to receiving help. Send one text that asks for support. Language here is an energetic nudge that makes practical phone calls and choices easier. Pause and breathe is the simplest intervention for urgency-driven moments. Before replying to an email that spikes you, or before reacting in a charged conversation, inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Name internally, I am breathing. This short pause prevents the old reactive circuitry from steering your response. When you practice this for a week, you notice patterns in how you used to respond and you gain the space to choose differently. A practical way to weave these tools into your life is a 7-day micro plan. Day 1. The 5 small graces at night. Day 2. Morning harmonization and 1 believable affirmation aloud. Day 3. Apply the emotional ladder to 1 recurring low-grade feeling and take 1 small action that matches the next rung. Day 4. Practice pause and breathe before each email or text that makes you feel tense. Day 5. Combine gratitude and language. Write 3 sentences that begin, I am open to, and add 1 micro request to a person. Day 6. Notice 1 synchronicity, a repetitive sign, a call, or a coincidence, and journal what it might confirm. Day 7. Review your week. Name 3 shifts you felt, small or big, and plan 1 tiny continuation practice for the next week. Keep the prompts short. The point is consistency and reflection, not performance. Now move with me into more stories, chances to see how these practices sound in different lives. Pearl is an artist who paints on scraps of wood she finds at the market. She once believed her paintings needed a permanent gallery to count as real. She began to host a small Sunday window show at a cafe, inviting people to come see 5 pieces and talk for 10 minutes. She offered 1 piece as a swap for a cup of coffee. People loved the intimacy of it. Collectors found the authenticity appealing. The shift began when she stopped equating value with scale and started measuring it by resonance. Her inner reorientation, from external validation to an internal sense of purpose, changed who she met and what offers reached her. Clyde teaches literature at a community college and carries the invisible load of being responsible for students who often arrive exhausted. He had been pushing harder, more assignments, stricter deadlines, more content. He tried a small experiment. 1 week he began class with a 2-minute silence and an invitation for anyone to share 1 line from a book that had helped them breathe. Students showed up differently. Attendance stayed steady, but engagement rose. Clyde noticed less friction grading and more genuine curiosity. The emotional ladder for him was shifting from responsibility as burden to responsibility as stewardship. He became less clenched and more present, and the classroom dynamic shifted. Elsie is a nurse who has walked hospital halls at night when the world felt especially raw. She learned to practice a short ritual between shifts: wash hands, look in the small mirror in the staff bathroom and say, I did my best. I will rest now. That quick act of naming steadied her. It did not erase trauma or exhaustion, but it gave a seam of kindness to hold the day's weight. Over months, her colleagues began to borrow some of her words, and the unit grew a habit of small acknowledgments when a shift ended. That culture of noticing made the team more resilient. The lesson here is not that gratitude cures trauma. It is that brief, practical rituals can add a thread of care in difficult systems. Vernon plays guitar in a modest trio at a bar, and his confidence had begun to shrink with quieter crowds. He started one morning saying aloud, I play to give light, not to be applauded. He practiced that for 30 days. The following week, a music promoter at another table noticed and asked about booking. The promoter liked the authenticity and offered a small residency. Vernon's small shift in intention, singing to serve a feeling rather than scoring external validation, changed the opportunities that came his way. Across all these examples, notice a pattern. The inward move is small, The outward change is practical and usually modest, and the confirmation often comes in everyday exchange rather than grand gestures. These are gentle, cumulative transformations. A few important cautions. This work is not toxic positivity. It does not dismiss grief, pain, or systemic hardship. If you are carrying heavy loss, some days the 5 small graces will be simply that you made it through. That is valid. These practices are scaffolding, not a replacement for therapy or medical care when those are needed. They work alongside other supports. Also, language matters. Choose words that build, rather than erode your capacity. Replace self-talk that shames with phrases that direct. Instead of "I'm hopeless," try "I'm tired and I will take one small step." Notice how the second is an instruction and an invitation. It is more usable. You may start noticing signs. Small, synchronistic confirmations like a song on the radio that repeats your new phrase, a neighbor who shows up unexpectedly, an email that seems timed to your intention. Treat such signs as subtle confirmations, not as proof. They are gentle echoes that your inner climate is beginning to yield different impressions back to you. There is a practical rhythm that unlocks compounding change. Choose one sustainable practice, one you will actually do, and commit to it for 7 days. Not forever. 7 days. That short commitment creates evidence you can feel. Evidence begets confidence. Confidence begets bolder small steps. Keep the practice simple. 5 small graces at night, a morning 2-minute harmonization, 1 believable affirmation, or the emotional ladder when a low-grade feeling appears. Do the practice and reflect. If you like it, continue for another week. Now imagine the climax of this work not as a dramatic success, but as a settling into recognition. You are not a small self trying to be big. You are the space in which the wave arises. Consider the ocean. Waves form and break, but the ocean itself holds them. The same is true of you. The behaviors you change are waves on the surface. Your awareness, your capacity to be slightly kinder or slightly less frantic, is the ocean that allows those waves to form differently. When you remember this, you stop pushing and start aligning. The oven warms, the dough rises, the colors shift. You begin to see signs in the same way farmers sense weather, not with certainty, but with practiced attention. If you are seeing this, something is already shifting. Keep a little curiosity about the small evidence that appears. Take notes. When you notice a synchronistic sign, write it down. When you feel slightly better after one ladder step, log it. These micro-observations build a sense of personal data that is grounded in your life rather than in abstract claims. To close, I'll offer a short, doable plan you can start tonight. Tonight, say 5 small graces. Tomorrow morning, sit for 2 minutes and choose 3 words to carry through the day. When you feel a low-grade negative emotion, name it and step 1 rung up the emotional ladder, then do 1 tiny concrete action that matches that new feeling. Repeat this for 7 days. At the end of the week, reflect on what was different, even in a small way. If nothing seems to shift, be gentle with yourself. Sometimes the work is setting the ground for change that arrives later. Sometimes the change is internal resilience that has no immediate external echo, and that is just as valuable. If you're seeing this, something is already shifting, and that is the permission to move with softness instead of force. If this message arrived to you now, consider it an invitation. Practice one small thing tonight and note what follows. If you want more short practices to try, come back for another message. There are other small, practical tools to help you keep tuning. If this landed for you, subscribe or follow for more gentle guidance and consider sharing this with someone who could use a quiet nudge. Tonight, name 5 small graces. See what shifts by morning.